Hi, thanks for joining me. I'm going to go through some more foundational ways of working now. And if you can get alignment on these foundational things, you'll find just your planning, tracking, and collaboration on delivering change is going to be so much more straightforward for you and so much more productive. I've already done one very brief description of how, if you're a product director or a product manager in most organizations, actually product managers, how you can get your roadmap onto a tool, onto a board, and visual within the framework, and that alignment with the other teams that work and the other functions within the team is really important. Today, what I'm going to go through is if you're a project manager or a product manager, so this is really for those project managers and product managers, on how you can break that vision down into objectives and you can get your RAID all on a single visualization, and how that would fit in with the ceremonies and the cadence that you'll likely have, or the foundational ones you'll want to apply in order to get this working. So I'm going to go through three things. The first one is how you would first refine your vision into those objectives. And I'm going to bring up a board in a second to show you that. This would really be the product managers who would be involved or leading this, but you would also get project managers coming in who have their own vision from their project that would come in that the product manager would have to be able to incorporate. You would do this continuously, but this would definitely be reviewed on quarterly planning. So on quarterly planning, you would do this because you'd have access to the people in there. So I'm going to go through that. I'm going to go through the refinement and show you that on the board. And I'll do that, and then I'll pop back and we'll have a look at RAID. So if I just open up board, this is where we left off last time. I'm going to close a few little windows. I'm going to get rid of that one there. Oops, don't think I can move that one off. There we go. So last time we looked at this, we got these. These are the vision statements. So this is the new vision statement. You can prioritize this. We talked about that last time, and we could make this one the priority. So you know which one needs refining by. It's in the to-do list, and it hasn't got work underneath it. It's not ready, so you need to do some refinement by putting in some objectives. So it's very simple. Very simple. You would hopefully go and open this and have a look, see, make sure the description's there, make sure that is refined, and then when you would use that knowledge to go and create the objectives underneath. And to create those objectives is super simple. You click on that and we'll create a portfolio objective. Now, at this point, you are relating this to this vision, but actually you're just creating a new item on the portfolio backlog, which can be prioritized independently of the vision, because you might have two visions for which the second item in the top vision is actually a low priority. Perfectly feasible, and we're going to allow for that. So I'm going to call this the new vision. I won't even correct that, new objective. And all I then do is hit return, and it's going to appear underneath that. I can then refine that. Now you'd want to do this at the time. So I'm going to give this to the product manager because they would normally own the objectives. Um, think about this objective. This is going to be something that's going to take probably months to deliver, probably cost you tens to hundreds of thousands. It is very worthwhile adding your description down here in your criteria and communicating that in a solid foundation. You might also have PowerPoints to sell it, but this would be the source of truth for what's required. So at this point, I'm only going to focus on getting that done and that done, and save and close. You will have noticed other fields there. I'm not going to go into that. That's not the purpose of today. And hopefully when that saves and closes, which is just taking a little bit of time, you've now got a new objective in there. And then through the refinement, you might do that through them all. And then at quarterly planning, you would be able to look at this view, which we go into the portfolio objectives, which would be prioritized by the product manager. You would then be ready to go and have a look and deliver those deliver them to plan them at quarterly planning, which would be the 12-week cadence. But you wouldn't want to turn up and do all of that refinement on the day. You'd have that ready. Okay. So the next item I want to look at is when you've got projects running and you want to manage the RAID as well for the portfolio. So I understand this. It's not something that is agile, but it absolutely happens in organizations. Work does come in from projects. And the benefit of this tool and the benefit of having a cadence and ceremonies is to use the same board, because then you get visibility of all the work. So if I go back to my vision statements and I wanted to add some risks, issues, assumptions, or dependencies, I can come in and do that at any time. So on this one here, I'm going to add an assumption. So assumption 2, obviously you wouldn't be putting that, it would be the proper title, and return. Now that's now put that in there, and you would want to be keeping that. This would be the project manager would almost certainly be managing this. They'd be getting information from other people. They want to make sure that this has the information. This means we don't have to repeat ourselves at every session. This means if you miss a session, you can go and see this because there's the documentation there. It would form the agenda for the next session, and it would be the minutes for this session. So you would keep your description in there. So having closed that, this system's not working super quick. That is now in the backlog. So when you came to having your project check-in, you could actually go to this board here, and you would go to this board here, and these check-ins sometimes go through an agenda of let's go through risks, let's then go through issues. You could use these filters then to say, well, actually, I want to just go and have a look at all of my risks. And there we go, it just filters by risks. So I want to look at my project assumptions, and it goes and puts just that's the objectives. Project assumptions just goes and shows the assumptions. So then we talk through those. Or you could do it by the parent work item. So we say, well, we want to have a look at all the things that are to do with the new vision item. So we've only got the objectives, there's no risks and issues. Swings and roundabouts to those. I'm not going to go into that. I've got a preference, but I'm not going to go into that today. Okay, so that's how you could manage your risks, issues, assumptions, and decisions. Now, the third thing I want to look at before we close the part for the product and project managers looking after their objectives is how we would review that at the end. And it's using the same board. Now, the reason this is going to be super quick is actually all of the work is done inside the 12 weeks. So all you're really doing is managing that card. But because we're going to have our next video is going to talk about how we nest all of our key results underneath our objectives. It's not going to be automatic. There's going to be a little bit of manual interaction, but really it's using exactly the same wall. So in our portfolio objectives, when these are all closed, this can be moved to done. And when it's in the done, I'm not going to do that because I want to keep the integrity of this board. That would then be part of a review process. And if it's not done, and if it's in the doing, we would be able to see these would be getting ticked off as they get done, by the way. I mean, I wouldn't be doing that in here. But as they start getting ticked off, you'll be able to see the progress as you go. So those will be part of the key result review. So I'll cover that in the next video. So at the moment, what I've done now is the video on how the vision gets into the system. So the vision gets into the system through here, and you've only got cards for that. And then underneath that, how you nest the objectives and the RAID at a portfolio level. And so you can start to look at the portfolio level RAID. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at how you then lead those teams with key results that nest underneath those objectives. Okie dokie. Thanks very much for listening.